Greetings, friends. Today we travel back over 350 years to a night that engulfed an entire city in flames. A night that changed London forever. This is the story of the Great Fire of London, 1666. A catastrophe born from a small spark that grew into an unstoppable inferno. It all began on a quiet Sunday evening, the 2nd of September, 1666. In a bakery on Pudding Lane, a small flame from Thomas Foreigner's oven smoldered unnoticed. Thomas, exhausted from his work, had gone to bed, believing all was safe. Little did anyone know that this tiny ember would set the stage for one of the greatest urban disasters in history. London in the 17th century was a city of contradictions. It was thriving, bustling with commerce, yet dangerously fragile. The streets were narrow, the houses built close together, timber-framed, with thatched roofs that caught fire easily. Smoke from chimneys hung in the air every day. Fires were a common hazard, but no one ever imagined the scale of destruction that was about to unfold. The fire began quietly, but the weather was against the city. A strong wind from the east carried sparks from one roof to another. In minutes, flames had spread to neighboring buildings. Residents grabbed buckets of water and tried to put out the blaze, but it was too late. The fire raced through the streets, consuming everything in its path. By the early hours of September 3rd, chaos had spread across London. People ran through the streets, carrying what little they could save: family treasures, food, silverware, and sometimes even pets. Horses bolted from stables, carts overturned, and terrified citizens screamed as the fire roared around them. The city was alive with panic and fear, a cacophony of human desperation as flames licked the night sky. The fire reached warehouses filled with combustible goods, barrels of oil, timber, and tar. Each explosion of stored goods sent fireballs into the air. The city's leaders tried to enforce fire breaks. Buildings were pulled down in an attempt to stop the spread. Yet the wind carried embers over the gaps, and the flames leapt from one block to another. London's very design, with its crowded streets and wooden homes, became a conduit for destruction. The inferno consumed St. Paul's Cathedral, its wooden interior reducing to ash, leaving only the stone skeleton. Homes, churches, shops, and public buildings all fell to the fire. It was said that for miles, the night sky glowed red, reflected in the Thames, as boats carried people and their meager belongings to safety. Eyewitnesses described a scene of unimaginable terror. Some climbed onto rooftops to escape, only to find the fire following them. Families huddled together in the river or in small gardens, hoping to avoid the blaze. Smoke and heat were so intense that even stone walls cracked and collapsed. Children clung to their parents, and mothers screamed for husbands, lost in the confusion. Yet, amidst the chaos, acts of heroism shone through. Firefighters and volunteers risked their lives to save neighbors and property. People tore down buildings with axes to create fire breaks, carrying the wounded and weak to safety. By September 4th, the fire had burned uncontrollably for over 48 hours. Thousands of buildings were destroyed. Nearly 13,000 houses, 87 parish churches, and dozens of public buildings were reduced to ashes. Miraculously, only a few deaths were officially recorded, but the psychological and societal impact was devastating. Families were homeless. Businesses lost everything. The population faced starvation, disease, and the trauma of losing entire communities. The cause of the fire was never in doubt. It started at Pudding Lane. But the scale of the disaster revealed the fragility of London. The city had no organized fire brigade, no effective firefighting methods beyond bucket brigades and hand-operated pumps. Communication was poor, and emergency measures were slow. The fire exposed the need for urban planning, fireproof construction, and civic organization. In the aftermath, the city underwent a complete transformation. King Charles II took charge of relief efforts. New building regulations required brick and stone construction instead of timber. Streets were widened and houses were built with fire-resistant materials. A new fire insurance system emerged. London would rise again, stronger and safer than before. Yet the memory of the night lingered. The Great Fire of London became more than a story of destruction. It became a cautionary tale, a reminder of how a small ember can ignite catastrophe, how human negligence and city planning can amplify disaster, and how courage, unity, and resilience can emerge amidst chaos. Today, centuries later, the Great Fire of London remains a symbol of both human vulnerability